This is Paul Hindle reporting for FinTech Futures from Finovate Europe, and I'm joined by Theo Lau from Unconventional Ventures. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, it's great to have you here. So maybe to start with, then you can just give us a little introduction to yourself and what it is you're up to at the moment.
Sure. So as you noted, I'm the founder of Unconventional Ventures, and a lot of our work is around how do we help fintech startups or even incumbents become more purposeful when it comes to innovation. So how do we look at different business models, for example, looking at the different demographics of people that financial services are serving or supposed to be serving, and how do we use technology for good? So we run a podcast called One Vision that's available every Tuesday, and we interview different founders from all walks of life, from basically everywhere around the world. We also just published a book last year called Beyond Good that brings in examples and also voices from different entrepreneurs as well as banking executives on how we see the world and how are the different trends driving innovation.
And so you're going to be talking on a panel covering AI in action then. So what would you say companies are doing well when it comes to utilizing AI, and what can they be doing more of?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting topic if you think about just from a pure funding perspective, right? There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of money going into this space, but as you say, what are we doing? A lot of the work that we've seen so far are more efficiency driven, right? How do we make things run more efficiently? How do we lower the cost of operations? So for example, in the last 2 years, you see a lot of the applications around customer service center. As branches are shut down, as more calls keep coming into the centers, we need technology to help us become more efficient when it comes to serving customers, so reduce the wait time, understanding them a little bit better, and provide better services. So there's a lot of energy around that. But and I think even before we started seeing at Finovate a couple of years ago, different virtual assistants doing demos, asking, hey, how much money did I spend last month for coffee? Now, whether or not that is the practical or useful use case, that's a different story. We also see applications of that with risk management, right? Different banks rolling out different things. But I still feel like there's a lot more that we can do. We're just scratching the surface.
Sure. And what hurdles are companies facing when it comes to implementing?
Multifold. So first of all, it's data, right? And second of all, most importantly, I would say is regulation. So for example, when you start thinking about using AI for credit decisioning, which we've seen some startups as well as banks trying to do, the first question is what you're doing fair? Is it transparent? And can you explain what you did, right? So around the whole ethical use of AI, the transparency, the explainability, and traceability, auditability, I think those aspects are really important. One would say is challenges, but the other way is opportunities. How can we use that to actually expand access of financial services to a wider group of people?
Right, so looking to the future then, I mean, you mentioned we're just scratching the surface with AI. What kind of new developments in the space are you most excited about?
So my hope and my dream will be we can use it to actually create more holistic solutions for consumers. Think about, 20 years ago, when people hop into a car, what do? They look for a paper map. They try to figure out from point A to point B, how do you go? But it's a paper static map. Think about now, when we do drive, right? Everything is dynamic. It auto routes based on traffic, based on conditions, based on how you want to go. I would love for us to get to there when it comes to money. Knowing not just me, but also all the ecosystems and the relationships I have with people, with my family, as well as with institutions. What's the best way for me to get from A to B?
And looking away from AI, then what other technologies are you kind of really excited about at the moment? You think banks and fintech should really be looking into?
There's no lack of tech development. I think what I would be more intrigued about is different use or different applications of technologies that we already have to be more purposeful and to create more, to look at really who are we serving, right? Have we actually get to where we said we would when fintech started more than 10 years ago? We said we're going to be better. We said we're going to change the status quo. We said we're going to do things for more people. I would challenge the ones who are in the industry right now, have we gotten to where we said we would? Or are we simply creating better UI, better UX, but still serving the same people the way we were?
And I know you do a lot of work around using tech for good and to promote financial inclusion as well. So what developments are you seeing in this area?
So I've started to see more fintech startups thinking about communities, thinking about immigrant communities, right? When they go from one country to the next, how do we help them establish their financial footing? Or even with small business owners, entrepreneurs, because one would say the incumbent banks aren't really doing what they can to adjust to the different ways of living that we have, different ways of earning. Gig economy workers, right? A lot of their lifestyle and how they get income doesn't really line up with traditionally how we service customers.
And do you think banks and fintechs can be doing more to drive positive change?
Much more.
Much more. Much more. Great. Well, thanks so much for coming along, Theo. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.